It's another edition of the book with me, Susan Bell, and of course I'm so delighted to know that you keep the appointment always. When was the last time you read a book? I suppose that was yesterday. I suppose it was today. But whatever the case, today we are suggesting a book which you should take delight in reading. It is titled The Eye of the Needle, and the author is MOKETE Albert MOTE-NDASAH. He is my guest on today's edition of the program. Hi, how are you doing?
Very great, Susan Bell. It's a pleasure to be part of this program.
The Eye of the Needle. This is your recent publication, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, recent in terms of publishing, but it has been in the cupboards for a while.
I know you take delight in writing books, and you have several books to your credit. As an author, when is that moment you feel fulfilled and really satisfied?
As an author, I think I feel really fulfilled when at the end of, say, a novel, the plans I have for my characters are achieved. When at the end, if the character has to succeed, the character succeeds. If at the end the character has to be a puzzle or a question or whatever, if at all the character has to be a reflection of what is in my mindset and the society, when I have achieved that, I think that I feel fulfilled as a writer.
Okay, this book, you submitted it for selection to be included in the curriculum, but it was not selected. I guess that it pinched your heart somehow, because you believe that this book has a lot that, should I say, useful to the learners.
I think so, but it wasn't selected. I think everything works for the grace and the glory of God. Maybe someday, but I believe it had so much, and the publisher actually went through and deemed it necessary to submit it. We are, first of all, very grateful that it went to that level, and maybe we hope someday it is taken.
Can you now tell us what this book is all about?
The Eye of the Needle is a story of a young, struggling man who happens to have been born in a family that I should say socially is average. The class, because of his class, he cannot meet up with his own aspirations, but his determination makes him beat every other level where society had classified him to be. And at the end, he becomes the man he has always wished to be, though passing through all the kinds of difficulties that one can imagine. That is why the novel is titled The Eye of the Needle. You know, it is not an easy thing to thread a needle, especially for men. We grew up to know that threading a needle was
meant for women.
Was meant for women. It was rare to find a man threading a needle. And if at all a man had to do that, it was with so much difficulty. You know, it's equally an allusion, because it's one of the recommendations Jesus Christ gave to one of his own characters, the persons he met, that it is difficult for the camel to pass through the eye of the needle. So this is a young man who faces all the kinds of difficulties you would imagine, both at home, at work, and everything.
In the society.
In the society, and he ends up beating them, and as God would have it, because the end, it is God who has. In his determination and his belief in God, at the end he becomes what he has always dreamt of.
Becoming a general manager.
General manager, of course.
Okay, that's great. It's time for us to take our forward, and Keyeka Edward is on standby. Let's watch.
The concerns raised are very relevant to the contemporary society, and to Cameroon in particular. I think asking which of them is very paramount. I think that corruption in high places is the crux of the matter as discussed and exemplified and exposed by this novel. When Mr. Fomenki refuses to pay workers salary, that the government has not yet funded the company, it also reflects what happens in many institutions in our country, where people take state subvention and refuse to dish it to the right quarters. Bullying and threatening of workers who even dare to question the master is also a cankerworm that bedevils our society. Squandering of money meant for the public is also very relevant in our society, as we see people in high offices like Fominki who takes money and squanders with his other colleagues in their luxurious bars and hotels with young girls who are young enough to be even their granddaughters, and we question whether these young girls even have parents. So one of the greatest evil that bedevils our society is corruption in high offices, as reflected in the text. And so poor persons like Ndedi, who come from a very humble background, finds it very difficult to penetrate society to succeed. So his movement in this society to become a worker of the Panama plantation can only come like a thread passing through the eye of a needle. We live in this type of society where we cannot even afford to pay our rent because salary will not come by, because those in offices have sat strong on what is supposed to trickle down to the common man, and the common man finds himself wanting and stays only at the mercy of God. At the end, we see that going through life in this society is like threading through the eye of the needle.
You're welcome back, and of course, if you're just joining us, you are watching the book with me, Susan Bell, and we are so excited to have MOKETE Albert MOTE-NDASAH in the studio talking to us about the eye of the needle. He just gave us a brief of what the book is all about. In this book, nepotism, corruption, mismanagement are some of the concerns raised in the book. These are vices that destroy a society. Is there not a remedy for this cankerworm, if I may term it that way?
I believe there is a remedy. These are social ills that we meet everywhere, every day, and we keep on questioning, can these ills be wiped out? Yes, I think. One, it begins with the education of the mind of the person. I think we should take civic education really very, very important in our curriculum, and not just teach it. Let us equally practice it, because the truth is we have failed to practice it. That is why these ills continue to grow. There are so many things we can do to curb these ills. Like I said, education of each and every one, knowing how to do the right thing at the right time, being at the right place. If this education is imbibed in us, I think that some of these ills will be wiped out. Secondly, we think that the government should equally come in. Some of these ills are coming in because there are some disparities, social disparities. People are not happy with where they are, maybe because they are not well paid and so on. Some people think that, okay, they have connections with people who have positions in society, and they think that doing these ills are normal, especially with the fact that society has come to accept them.
Yes, it's true that you've answered part of the question, you know, of my next question. Who is to blame?
I want to think that before I throw the blame to the other person, as a person, the individual who is involved in the corrupt practice is to be blamed, because I think it's the mindset of that individual. These ills are there, and our society has laws against them. So individuals break them, go against them. And because our own society too has not put those measures that reprimand these ills so much so that people will fail to involve in them, that is why these ills continue to grow. So the person involved in the ill is to blame, and the one who facilitates it is equally to blame. Society in a whole, for accepting these ills as a norm, is to blame.
Okay, another picture you paint here is what the world wants to show us, making people to believe that to become a well-positioned person in the society, you must have somebody who is well-positioned as well. Yeah. Are you in favor of this, or do you really, are you condemning it in some way?
I am in favor of guardian angels.
Okay.
Yeah, luckily you have already touched the two sides of it. There is what we describe as genuine help. In life, you must always have someone who genuinely comes to your support, who comes to your help. That is the true friendship we think about. At some point, it might not be that kind of true friendship. When you look at the help Ndedi Lambert receives from his friend yes. Max Moto, it is genuine. Okay. I don't want to question the sources of Max's worth, but he wholeheartedly accepts to help his childhood friend, and he recalls the moments they used to in school. Yeah, in school, yeah. He was not as intelligent as Ndedi, but society and what nature has done makes it that he is better placed than Ndedi, and he sees every reason for supporting him. At some point, it could equally be a negative picture, because the services he renders are at the detriment of other users who come to his office and are waiting for him to attend to them, but because of that relationship yes,
that he has with Lambert,
doesn't care about them,
yeah,
yes,
and decides to leave.
He decides to leave.
Okay. Well, we are going to come back to you. It's time for us to have our Vox Pop, and we are questioning the people out there. Can one's background determine or affect one's future?
Certainly, one background will determine your future. You realize that when you have a good background, the future will certainly be bright. But if you have a good background and you don't make proper use of it, you realize that at the end, it will affect you negatively, and will determine the type of person that you will be in future if you don't make good use of your background.
Can you not affect somebody's future? Look, if I'm the president's son today, what do you think? It gives me everything, and my future is already guaranteed. And then you say it will not affect my future, that what? It will not even affect my future, affect my children's future. And you are talking about, it affects, even though there are other aspects anyway. But I think that the background of what was kept for you affects, it does a lot.
Background is of two categories. You have the poor background and then the rich background. It depends on how you take it. You could be of rich background, then at the end of the day, you are nothing. You could be from a poor background and knowing fully well that you're from a poor background and you have to improve on your life and everything, you work hard in order to come out of it.
One's background can affect your future, and it cannot also affect your future, depending on you, the individual, how you take it. If you are a Christian, your background cannot affect your future, because I think our Lord Jesus Christ said in the Bible that everything that is laid onto his hand, it will be finished with it. So if you lay any difficulties with him, I think that your past cannot affect your future. Rather, if you do not lay everything in his hands, if you are not a Christian, it will affect, because we have our physical nature and our spiritual nature. And all of these, they work together to make sure that our future is good or our future will be bad.
You're welcome back, and of course, you are watching the book with me, Susan Bell. I want you to react to our Vox Pop. Do you think that one's background can determine one's future?
I would say yes and no. Yes, because sometimes you can want to get to the highest limit, but because of where you come from, it is a pure limitation to that aspiration. If you come from a poor background where you are not connected to certain people, that might hinder you from getting to what you want to be, to what you want to achieve. See, you fight it out, but you realize that that social background is a natural limitation to that aspiration. For that reason, yes, the background can limit one's aspiration. But it cannot limit one's aspiration again, because if you are truly determined and you are that determination to make it is there with the belief in God, like Lambert had, it is so possible that you would get to that limit that you expect, because man will say no, but God will never say no. God is the one who determines what the end would look like. If you look at the trajectory of Ndedi, though he does not give up, he chooses to relocate to the village after he has been fired from his job. You know, at some point, going back to the village is like a signal that, okay, it's over, everything is over,
Yeah,
you're
everything
giving
is
up.
over,
Yes.
giving up.
Yes. But he goes back, and the work he does in the village is so much appreciated by even his own brothers and sisters and relatives and whoever works around him in the village, that when that appointment comes, many do not doubt it, because they have noticed him for being a very hardworking person, and they are happy that he is coming to take a position that rightfully belongs to him.
Okay.
I like the virtues that Ndedi teaches us, the virtues of patience, the virtues of tolerance, and above all, being very God-fearing. He has been imbibed by his parents the notion of always praying to God, and he passes that on to his own children, despite the fact that he is very unaware what the future holds. He keeps on praying all the time. And you see, he's lucky to have the kind of wife who supports him even in the heart of this difficulty to the end.
Okay. Well, we're going to continue, because you just raised a point there which I want us to touch. But we're going to come back to that. It's time for us to have On the Shelf. And we continue in the series of knowing what a book is and what it takes to write a book. We have Akara Maimo, our resource person, who is on standby to enlighten us on certain issues.
A book normally has, first of all, what we may call the foreword, the preface. You have the kind of table of content, and then now you have the chapters. So if you read through a book, normally a book should permit you, like in music, you get through the intro, you get the climax, and then you fall down. Okay, so you have to have that feeling that you're reading a book and it's taking you somewhere. It's like you get to the intro, you get to this crescendo, and then now you fall down, and then you have like the takeaways, you know, key messages. And now with the kind of reading we have today, especially when you write books that is based on some kind of expertise, you're targeting some kind of audience. Each chapter has to have a kind of like how can I call it, different components. Each chapter has to be complete in the sense. It's like each chapter is a book of its own. So it's like in the chapter you have a kind of intro, you touch the substance, and then you have a kind of takeaway, so that at the end of the book you have a complete package. So it permits you to write a book in such a way that even somebody reads just sections of the book, they are able to pick out something. Obviously, at the end, you have the conclusion, and then the conception of the book cover is usually very important. It tells the story because that's what people see. It's just like in a media program, you have the intro. It's like all of that. So it's very important. The packaging in itself. Now with modern technology, okay, you can just do the paper base, you can do the digital, and then you can use the service of an infographic to make the book to be lighthearted. Because more and more people go for what is attractive, what is more, how can I call it, the images. So if you can illustrate to it, it also attracts. Like what we employed here. We know that people normally they like poetry, but we presented the poetry in another way by illustrating the chapters and then giving it this concept so that it attracts the readership.
We're going to be drawing the curtains on this edition of the program in just a short while. But before we go, you were talking about one aspect of a supportive wife. We were talking about love, we were talking about friendship, and it's also some of the issues you raised in the book. True friendship is hard to get these days.
Of course, very, very difficult to get. People come to you for what you can give them. And most of the times when they have had what they want from you, they will desert you. It's so common.
They call them the fair weather friends.
The fair weather friends. Ndedi and the friendship he has with Max is the kind of friendship we would admire everybody will have. Very supportive in difficult moments, whenever. When you look at the love that Bokeng has for her husband.
Yes.
You know, she portrays it in every form. Sometimes she decides to become nagging because she wants to push her husband to success. She packs the little things she has and threatens to leave the house. She even leaves the room and goes to the other room to settle because she wants her husband to be a better person. And
very supportive.
Very, very supportive. You would notice that when the husband decides that they would relocate to the village, she does not object. She does not question the husband. You will not find that with women today, especially those of us who have grown up in the cities. Telling your wife that, okay, we are going to go back to the village, it would be, she would take it.
She will shout, me, never. You better go with your children.
Yes.
But she wasn't all of that.
She wasn't. And I think we should remind ourselves the pressure that she even gets going back to the village, because back in the village, she's going to meet with her husband's supposed to be wife.
The Mbanya, let's call it that way.
Yes. So you see, and the Mbanya is actually waiting for Ndedi to come back to check him, how he has lived a wasted life in the village and so on. The wife, even with all of this kind of pressure, the kind of mockery that comes, she doesn't pay attention to that. She supports her husband up to the point of working so much in the farm, and at the end, she is certainly part of her husband's success.
Albert MOTE-NDASAH, I don't want to leave you, but I have to. I'm very sure that those who are watching are kind of willing to get a copy of this book and continue the reading. Any contact?
The books are available through the publisher of The Eye of the Needle, Bechakam. Let me give the email, bechakam@gmail.com, or you can contact me as well through my own Mokete Albert 2016@gmail.com, all in small letters, or you take the following numbers: Bechakam 673 939 108 or 698 083 423, or my personal contact 677 150097.
Okay. Thank you very much for giving us that contact. Well, I know you want to continue reading this book. The contacts are all yours. just make that effort to call and you will get a copy. Thank you for watching this edition. Thank you, Sir MOTE, for MOTE-NDASAH, for coming.
The pleasure is mine.
Okay, thank you for watching this other edition of the book. We hope to meet you some other time. We love you. Bye-bye.
God bless.